Today we're going to be covering a much requested storyline, the origin of Toxin. But we're not just going to bring you the origin of Toxin, no. We're going to bring you Venom versus Carnage, Carnage versus Toxin, Toxin versus Venom. And somewhere in the middle of all of that is Spider-Man. That's right, we have a four-way battle going on here. Let's get right to that story because it's exciting. Our story begins in New York as two forces known as Venom and Carnage fight about family problems. The argument stems from the fact that Carnage is symbiote 999 and he's about to release the 1000th offspring, and as Carnage's father, Venom wants to make sure that it goes right. As the two fight, Venom says that there is nothing to be ashamed about. And Carnage shouts back that it's not about that. So if he's going to have him give birth to a new symbiote, he's going to kill it. After finally managing to punch Venom back from him, Carnage heads down into the streets and begins digging underground. He tells himself that if he's going to have to give birth to another symbiote, he's at least going to try and suffocate it. Meanwhile, not far off, Black Cat Felicia Hardy attends a local art exhibit in search of her next Target piece. But before long, there's a loud explosion in the middle of the showroom and the cops quickly arrive on the scene. Among those officers is Patrick Mulligan, who, seeing the hole in the ground, sees Carnage's host, Cletus Cassidy. As Carnage starts to cover up Cletus, he says, "Venom never said anything about how much birthing would hurt. If I had enough energy left, I would kill you right here. But it's not like you're going to be able to tell where I'm going anyway." Out in the river, Venom pulls himself out of the water, telling himself, "It's already happened. I could feel it. There's another one of them on the earth. I must protect the 1000th symbiote of our line before its father kills it." Later at the home of Patrick Mulligan, he tells his pregnant wife about his day and how he got to look evil in the face today. As he sits by the window, the looming shadow of Venom appears and it crashes through the window. Venom tells him, "I'm not here to hurt you. There is someone who is on their way to do just that, though." Patrick shouts, "Please leave me alone. My wife and I were expecting in." But Venom stops him. "Are you going to love the human infant? Protect it. Cherish it." Patrick tells him of course, and Venom leans in asking, "What is it like?" However, before Patrick can even answer, Spider-Man tells him that that is something that he will never get to know. Or maybe, if he hadn't sucked the soul of the person that he's inhabiting, he would have told him. As Spider-Man punches Venom out of the window, Venom tells him, "I'm here to protect him. My son Carnage has just given birth." Spider-Man tells him, Whoa. Carnage was preggers? Who's the father?" Venom tells him, "That cop is. Only he doesn't know it yet. Though, normally we don't care for our offspring. We do care about our species. And by the 1000th generation, the chances of a psychotic breakdown are great. Unless a grandparent can educate them. I want to help him, though Carnage only wants to hurt him, and the host with it." Back inside, Patrick leads his wife downstairs, and as he does, Carnage climbs down those stairs and pushes Patrick's wife over the edge, telling her, "Just get out of the way, breeder!" Carnage then grabs Patrick and he jumps out the window, and Venom shouts for him to stop. But at that moment, he's thrown down onto a rooftop. Back inside, Patrick's wife tells Spider-Man, "Thank you for saving me." She asks if he wouldn't be an obstetrician underneath that mask, would he? Spider-Man looks at her and he tells her that he can't leave her here. Uh-oh. She's having the baby. Outside, Carnage pins Patrick down, telling him, "I'm not here to kill you. I'm just gonna rip out your ribcage and your lungs so I can get to my baby. You're welcome to whatever's left over." Carnage swipes at Patrick, and as Patrick tries not to get hit, he stumbles backwards off the ledge of the building. In an apartment across the street, Felicia Hardy hands over a painting that she stole during the explosion, telling the artist Randolph that he needs to read the fine print before selling his pieces. Back outside, as Patrick catches himself, he screams for help, and Black Cat hears. Carnage begins to crawl down the building, telling Patrick, "There is no one here to help you! You belong to creatures like me!" And just as Carnage can swing again, Black Cat swings in, grabbing Patrick. However, before they can get very far, Carnage throws out his tendrils, wrapping around the two of them, and as he pulls them back, he tells Cletus, "Look, I got a pretty girl! She even smells nice!" The mask slightly splits open and Cletus tells him, "Good. Squeeze all that perfume right out of her." And Carnage tells him, "That's a good idea." Before the tendrils can squeeze too much, Venom slams down onto Carnage, telling him, "The killing stops here." The two claw and rip each other apart, and Carnage shouts, "He must die! There's no way that I'm letting my genes live on! And then coming back to bite me, literally!" Felicia jumps out of the building with Patrick, and Carnage shouts to them to stop. Venom tackles him back down, telling him, "Good, soon he will be big enough to look after himself." Carnage asks, "What's the point? He's just a cold-blooded lethal killer." And Venom tells him, "This is different. When Toxin grows up, he will be our ally." Carnage shouts, "I have a better name for him! How about dead?" Venom continues telling him, "Toxin is going to fight alongside me against the Spider-Man, and if need be, against you also, Carnage." While the fighting brings the symbiotes down into the subway, Venom pushes Carnage's body onto the electrical tracks, telling him, "I won't let anything happen to Toxin." The electricity shoots through Carnage's body, stunning him, and at the last moment, Venom leaps away, allowing the train to speed by and hit him. The next morning, Patrick's wife has their son Edward, and Venom watches over them, telling him, "I know Carnage isn't dead. I can feel him somewhere. Soon. Until he's ready, I will keep an eye on the child." Later that night, Black Cat returns to Randolph's apartment telling him that she told him not to call her unless it's an emergency, and Randolph says that it was an emergency, and he steps out telling her he was the one who made him call. Black Cat asks, "What? You've come here to arrest her for stealing a painting that the artist was scammed out of?" And Patrick tells her, "Still, it doesn't make it any less of a crime what you did." Black Cat says, "You could just give me a break. I helped you out the other night. So don't you owe me just a little bit?" And Patrick tells her that that would be like taking a bribe. It's not something that he's willing to do. Black Cat tells him that's fine. It would be easy for her to just escape. All she would have to do is this, and then she kicks. Patrick catches her, and next Black Cat punches, which Patrick stops. She tells him that he's pretty good, and Patrick tells her, "Yeah, I'm not really sure how or why I was able to do that, but..." Seconds later, the door is kicked in, and Cletus walks in with Randolph's body, telling them, "Look what I found outside!" Both Patrick and Black Cat get ready to attack, but that's when Cletus shoots out a tendril into the ground, grabbing Black Cat and throwing her. Patrick pulls out his gun and he starts to fire until he starts to feel something crawling over him. Except, it isn't Carnage. Toxin grabs a hold of one of Carnage's tendrils and starts spinning and throws him, telling him, "Well, I'm sorry, but I kind of flunked biology." As Carnage's body begins to fly out of the building, Toxin starts to retract and he says, "You are not my father. You are not..." And then Patrick starts to vomit before he can finish. Black Cat checks on Patrick, asking if this is some kind of private vomit or can anyone join in? Patrick hastily crawls back, telling her to stay away. The monster isn't gone. It's inside of him. And a few moments later, after getting some water, Black Cat asks Patrick how he's doing. He says all things considered, he's been better. But that thing said that he was its father. Black Cat gets back up, looking around the destroyed apartment, stating that he's probably going to want to keep that little secret to himself. So if he doesn't want to turn her in for stealing, she won't expose him. Normal rules don't really apply here anymore, so unless he wants things to get crazier than they are, he better learn to be a little bit more flexible. Patrick thinks on it and he says, let him think about it. And then he notices that Black Cat has already left. The next day, he returns home in the rain, thinking about how this wild new energy is inside of him. But what is he going to do with it? Is he going to use it to put an end to his father? Over at another apartment, Cletus irons his shirt, asking Carnage, "How could you let the kid that's hardly a week old beat you up?" Carnage tells him, "Be quiet! There are plenty of other human hosts that I can go to." While the two bicker, Patrick uses his powers to listen in, thinking that this is it. He could do it right now, kill Cletus, and no one has to. But before he can move, Carnage breaks through the wall, grabbing and pulling him inside. Patrick tells Toxin, "Come on, come out, I need you!" And just like that, Toxin begins to creep over, taking over Patrick. Toxin holds Carnage down by the throat, and Patrick says, "I can't do this. I can't kill in cold blood." And then he jumps out the window. As the sun sets, Patrick leaves his home to head to work. But up along the buildings, both Venom and Carnage are watching. Venom says, "I saw the Toxin almost kill you, but it couldn't. Perhaps because it may have a conscience or some form of morality." Carnage says, "It sounds more like Spider-Man than a symbiote." And Venom tells him, "Exactly. What if Toxin grows up to be another Spider-Man? Maybe even form an alliance with the webbed one. He must be stopped, killed, crushed." Venom then says, "Carnage, my son. I never thought I would say this, but how would you feel about a temporary, very temporary alliance with your old man?" Later, as Patrick begins his rounds, he receives a call about a bank being robbed, and he crashes in his Toxin. He fights off the robbers, and he tells himself that if he's going to use this power, he's going to have to control it. Use it for good. Toxin grabs one of the robbers and starts to lick his head, telling him, "I could just suck out your brain right now from your eye sockets." And as Toxin throws the man with the other robbers, Patrick's badge begins to show through the symbiote. One of the robbers notices it and says, wait, you can't kill me, you're a cop. You don't kill, you arrest. Toxin opens up his mouth, licking his lips, telling him, "The rules don't apply anymore. Everything has changed." But as Toxin gets ready to bite down on the man's head, Patrick forces Toxin to stop and he gains control of him again. Patrick tells the men to get their arms on the wall. They're all under arrest, and as Patrick checks their pockets, Spider-Man swings down, telling him, "Hey, that was some good work. Looks like you got everything under control here." Patrick tells him, "Yeah, under control." And Spider-Man tells him, "Good, this might be the beginning of a beautiful relationship." The next day, over at Randolph's funeral, the rain pours down, and Patrick and Felicia stand off on the side. Felicia asks why is he even here. Patrick says that he feels responsible for his death. The monster that killed Randolph was after him, and as the two go on, Patrick looks back, asking if she feels something. Seconds later, Venom and Carnage charge in at the two of them, and Toxin stands over them asking, "Why can't you two just leave me alone?" Venom tackles him down, telling him, "This isn't what I wanted either. It was supposed to be the two of us standing over a bloodied corpse inside of a crumpled spider suit." Venom and Carnage begin to beat down on Toxin, and as the fight stumbles over into the funeral services, the people begin to run, and inside of the grave, a hand reaches out. Venom grabs a tombstone, getting ready to slam it down on Toxin when Felicia tells him that he doesn't want to do that. Venom says, "Actually, I really do." And Carnage tells him, "Oh yeah, he does." Felicia says that she thought that she had just heard him say that they were his father and grandfather. Shouldn't they stick around to help him grow right? Venom tells her, "We thought that we could mold him, but he's too dangerous, and it could be the end of our species." Carnage then says that she's also forgetting something. "We want to kill him. It will be our pleasure to smash out his brains. It's because we're evil, violent creatures." Venom says, "That's right. Once we kill this child, we can turn our attention on you because you're the closest." As Venom leads in, Black Cat reaches out, pulling the webbing off of Venom's face, telling him that he didn't have this on his face a second ago. As Venom looks back, he sees Spider-Man, and Spider-Man asks, "Don't you just love these old cemeteries?" And then he flings the two of them inside of a mausoleum. The two begin crawling their way out, grabbing at Spider-Man, and Toxin tells them to put him down. Except now, Toxin looks much bigger. Toxin begins punching away at Venom and Carnage with the help of Black Cat, and as the two drive the symbiotes away, Toxin begins to chase after them, and that's when Spider-Man tells him, "Hey, calm down, the monsters are gone." Toxin sits down asking, "Will there be a next time?" And Spider-Man says, "Most definitely." Toxin begins to retract, and Patrick asks, "So now we have to live our lives day in and day out knowing that those creatures could turn up at any minute." And Spider-Man tells him, "Well, yeah, that's the long and short of it." As he heads off, Patrick says, "That guy's his new role model. Always so together with the whole being a hero thing." Felicia then says, "Under the skin-tight sexy outfit, there's a scared little boy. But come on, she's gonna walk him home." Later, Patrick leans over Edward's crib, stating that at least his son will grow up into something useful. As he turns, he looks down to see Edward sucking on a finger that fell out of his pocket from the cemetery. He grabs it, shouting in his mind that he just ruined it. He defiled his home. And after taking the finger and throwing it into the river, he decided that it was time. It was time for him to leave. He tells his wife, and she asks if it's a joke. Is there another woman? If there is, they can figure something out. They can make it work. His parents went through a rocky patch when his father met the desk sergeant. They can work it out too. Doesn't he love her and little Eddie? And Patrick tells her that he loves them so much. But please don't hate him for this. He just can't explain it right now. So he walks down the street thinking that even though there is a creature called Toxin inside of him, he will try and use it for good. He's left his old life behind, and now it's time to take after Spider-Man. Accept what's inside him and never forget who he is. He must always do the right thing. And there you have it, the birth of Toxin and Venom versus Carnage with Spider-Man mixed into there. It made an amazing sandwich. It was like a sandwich of web slingers. It was awesome. As a matter of fact, Dan said I shouldn't raise my hands and bring them to the screen, so I'm just gonna do this for the end of the video. Over by my right hand, you'll find all of our Spider-Man videos. Over by my left hand, you'll find the Venom videos. Are you amazed by my jazz hands? Woo!